Hey, Healing Journeys
Hi,
today.
everybody.
Welcome to Heartbeat. Butch and Julieann Hartman here. We are so excited. It is almost Christmas time.
I know.
Actually, it is Christmas time. It's just not the day of
It's
Christmas yet.
Christmas time in the city.
Julieann sang that song all those years
Yeah.
ago. Nobody knows that, but it was her.
It was me all this time.
All this time, and she made her voice sound like a man, which is amazing. You sound like Bing Crosby.
Oh, that's true. It was Bing Crosby.
Hey, everybody, welcome. We are so grateful that you're here. We hope you had a great week so far. We're hoping that your week goes even better from this point on because we're talking about relationships, marriage, all kinds of stuff here on Heartbeat. That's what we want to talk about.
Yeah, when people
Dating, anything. I mean, listen, when you get into a relationship with anybody, it becomes the
Yeah.
biggest thing in your life if it's something that really means something. And we all know that. In fact, we all search for that great relationship. I know we have two daughters. One is now married. One is not yet, but the older one was searching for that relationship. She finally found it.
Yeah.
The youngest one is still searching. But we've seen, and listen, we were in, we were searching for relationships until we found each other. So everybody is designed and wired to find that perfect relationship, which is why it is so painful when it doesn't go the way it's supposed to.
Right. Well, it's like in the timing that you think. And you know what? I just feel this way. It's not like Sophia's searching. I don't want to say that she's like searching for her husband, but I do believe that.
Well, I guess it means searching like every day with a magnifying glass or a map.
Where is he? Where is he?
Well, you got to admit though that does the topic is always discussed with everybody that we know, not just our daughter.
Yeah, it's like where is he? You know, it's funny, but honestly, I never thought about that. I never did. It was like, if I get married, and this is my attitude back then.
Why was that? Tell me why.
Because I just saw such bad things happen in marriage. I just thought like, I don't really want to know.
It seemed like more trouble than it was worth.
Yeah, because before Jesus, everything was more trouble, and there was no peace, and there was nothing in my life that was really, that I thought was going to be a great thing for the rest of my life. I just saw everything as the cup half full, half empty instead of half full.
Half empty is the bad one.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I just had so many different, negative opinions about that. So I really didn't want to get married because I only saw bad things happen. I saw lots of arguing, lots of addiction, lots of, stuff like that. And I was
drama. Can we use the word drama, which also rhymes with trauma?
Yeah, trauma and drama. And I just didn't want to deal with it. So anyway, that was me back then, but not now. And so our daughter, Sophia, I really do believe that, God is bringing an incredible man to her and anybody else too, not just our daughter, Sophia, but if you've been praying for that husband, God will bring him to you, or that wife, God will bring them to you. Because why? He has somebody for you. It's not like it's you're going to throw, the dice and you hope you get a 6 or something.
Well, a lot of people do that, which is unfortunate because some of us don't, and I shouldn't say don't have any patience, but some of us get impatient with the waiting because, the way great relationships work, if you're willing to wait for you to develop more in certain areas, mentally and spiritually, and you're waiting for someone else to develop in certain areas, then it'll go a lot smoother at the beginning. But a lot of people, and listen, this goes for us too.
We all jump the gun.
Everybody, well, not everybody, but
we jumped the gun in something.
Yeah, we got married. I was 27. We got married. I wasn't in Christ at the time. Julieann was not either. And so we had to live by, our wits and by what we knew of the world. And everybody thinks they're the smartest person in the world, and they don't even realize how young they are. We only live on this earth for a certain amount of time, and then we leave. And yet people, 75, 85, 95, whatever they are, they get to a certain age in life and think, boy, they know it all. They've been here 95 years or whatever. And listen, you do know a lot more than you used to, but you're never going to know it all. And then when you leave this earth, you'll be in the afterlife far longer than you're in this life. This is kind of just a way station, a stepping stone, if you will. If you're a Christian, you really have to consider yourself not of this earth, because we're kind of just passing through. And I have news for you. Everybody else is passing through too. We start off as a spirit, then we're brought here to earth, and then we leave the earth as a spirit. And everybody knows it. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it is true. But the Bible says, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're trying to bring heaven down here to earth while we're here. Don't you want to have heaven on earth, not hell on earth? You've always heard that expression. Boy, that was hell on earth, that relationship. Or boy, those two together, that was hell on earth. Boy, I can't believe I came through that situation. That was hell on earth. We hear that all the time. That's the last thing you want, is hell on earth. But some people are so used to that, they don't even see an alternative. But we're here today, at least to give you some small glimmer of hope that there is hope to get out of that. We want you to have heaven on earth. But the way to do that is to change your heart. So today we're talking about how to control your reactions and how you control a reaction to things. And by the way, I put things, I underline the word things, because how do you control your reactions to everything? How do you control your reactions to someone giving you an angry look, someone giving you great news, someone giving you a bad doctor's report, someone telling you that, your plane has been delayed, someone telling you that they can't make it for this special party you've been planning, someone telling you the party's canceled. How do you react to certain things, especially in your marriage? Are you in a marriage where the instant reaction is always anger and frustration to everything, right? And how is that how you react? Or do you take a second and let the Lord tell you how to react? Lord, how do I do this? That little bracelet people wear. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do in this situation? How would he react this way?
But we don't always take that moment. We don't take that pause. You feel something, you immediately want to get your point across, your opinion, your whatever, if you've been offended, you want to let them know right away. If you're trying to defend something, a lot of times it's usually when somebody has made a mistake where they go immediately to get on the defensive. And it's like, okay, big deal. You made that choice. You made that decision. It's not a big deal. We just go back, or you made that mistake. We just go back. We just fix it, right? Instead of trying to start an argument based on that, because that makes no sense at all. And so how to control reactions in your marriage is that honestly, there's got to be that 3-second rule of someone's, which says something to me, and it's got to be 1,000, 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. So I don't just go, oh yeah, well, you know how I feel about that. And then now there's an argument, right?
And that kind of behavior stems from years and years of living either with that behavior all the time, or it came from childhood where you had to defend yourself in order to survive. Some of us grow up in houses where you had to stick up for yourself and say something, or else you get mowed over. You would get, mowed down. Like you would never be heard. One thing is we all want to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. And it's absolutely true. Even those that are quiet want to be heard. And sometimes they get quiet because they're never heard.
Yeah.
And they've realized that if I'm just quiet, I will avoid the pain of not being heard, or they're trying to attract attention sometimes by being quiet. There's a difference. I've done both. I've been quiet to attract attention, and I've also had to get my point across because, darn it, I was the smartest one in the room. And I think you'll agree. I'm always the smartest one in the room. Right?
Only my opinion matters, right? And listen, maybe your opinion does matter. I mean, your opinion matters, but maybe you were right. But there's other people in the relationship as well. So remember, between you and your husband, it's not a fight to see who's got control or who can control the other one,
right? Or
for the power. There's not a fight for power at all, because remember, you are married. That means everything is together. So there should not be, and if there is, there's lots of counselors at churches and stuff, or even online. But if you don't have a marriage that is literally integrated, woven into each other, and when you share everything, that is a problem. And you have got to look at your marriage and say, do we have a marriage or do we have a partnership? Do we have are we playing house? Are we just roommates? Like, sometimes you got to really look at that, because marriage can very easily slip into that if you're not careful.
We've dealt with some individuals, and we have to be careful of this ourselves sometimes, where there's no affection. There's no togetherness.
Well, especially after you've been together for a long time.
Yeah, you can really start taking people for granted. And I get it. I mean, listen, we're married. We've been married 31 years. I can't believe after the first of the year, it'll be going into 32 years. But the fact that you see the same person every day, you know how they're going to react. You have the same food every day. You do this. I mean, whatever it is, things can get taken for granted very easily. But what we have to do, like Jesus says, is put the new wine into the new wineskin, not the new wine into the old wineskin. You can't put new ideas into old ways of doing things. Like there might be a time where you got to think about how to react differently in that new wineskin. How do I react in a new way?
Yeah.
A way that John Smith doesn't always react. Everyone knows John. He's mad all the time. It's like, well, what if John came in and acted nice for
God,
once?
do you want to be known for that? That would be just terrible.
Exactly.
Right. If you were known for that. But watch your reactions, because, I tell you what, you're together as a husband and wife. Believe it or not, whoever reacts negatively, the other one is going to feel it. Because why? Because you become one. So when that other person gives that kind of reaction, then it puts you on the defensive. It puts you on the offensive. There's so many things that happen when one of you reacts, in a negative way. And so again, you're together as a team. You're not separate. You are a team. You should not be sleeping in separate beds. You should be sharing.
Run that
everything.
one by me again. Why? Okay, well, they shouldn't be sleeping in separate beds. Yet some couples do.
Well, you know what they'll say? Well, my husband snores. Okay, there are things like that, but I swear it's probably would be very hard on your marriage if you don't sleep together. I think
now so. That's not a topic I expected to go into, but let's talk about it.
I don't know why that just came up.
Well, my wife has, some people have filters. There's like a smaller filter on my wife. It's a much smaller one. But think about this. Those of you who are married, and I get it. Some people do sleep in separate beds, and that's completely okay if you're still acting like a married couple, if you still love each other and spend more time together outside of the bedroom. However, the whole point of the marriage bed is to keep you together and keep you at a point of intimacy where you're sharing that time. It's a very intimate time to sleep in a bed together for 8 or 9 hours. Even though you're sleeping,
I know
you're still sharing that time. And so, the Lord wants us to share time with each other. He doesn't want us to be separated. Now, I get it. There are times people can be separated, and there's good reason for it. Maybe the snoring or whatever. Maybe you've tried everything. I don't know. It does happen.
Yeah, and you know what? If that does happen, which I hear that all the time, I mean, I would just be praying over it. I would be declaring healing over that person so they don't do that anymore. But also, too, do whatever you can to be together. That is the bottom line, doing whatever you can to be together. You don't want to separate yourself, especially at night when you're sleeping. That's like the most incredible, that's like when you guys are together and you're sleeping together. I know it's like sleeping together.
Believe it or not, you're forced to be together. And then even though you're not awake, you're still together. Here, this is a great name, Bobby the Sheepadoodle. Hey, Bobby the Sheepadoodle. I didn't know Sheepadoodles could type, but this is really exciting.
Yeah, me either.
How do you keep the intimacy? Asks Bobby the Sheepadoodle. Bobby, the reason we when Tyler says, "What are you people doing for Christmas? What do you want?" We'll get to Tyler's in a second. But going back to Bobby the Sheepadoodle, how do you keep the intimacy?
Work at it.
You have to be intentional.
Yeah.
You have to focus on it. You have to go, we are going to have an intimate time. I'm not talking about the physical act of intimacy, although that's important as well. But I am talking about, hey, you know what? Like today, for example, my wife and I, we work in the same office every day. Let's go take a walk. We went and walked around the office for 10 minutes, just around the building here, because just to get out and clear our heads a little bit and get some sun. And it was great. We do that all the time. That's an act of intimacy. But if I go, you know what, I'm going by myself, and that happens too sometimes, but it's better to try and share that time if you can. If you can.
I mean, that's okay. That's one thing. How do you as the man, or I believe you are, open up a door for your wife. Go to the car and open up the door for her. Going into a restaurant, open up the door for her. I don't care if you guys are in sweats and she just beats you in the 50-yard dash or something, right? You still treat her as a woman.
In the 50-yard.
Well, meaning let's say you guys just worked out, you just bench press 150 pounds, and you're like, well, she's kind of a tough girl.
Oh,
no, it doesn't matter.
There's still a feminine side.
You're still a feminine side. She's still your wife. So open the door for her. Tell her how pretty she is. I mean, tell her how nice she looks. Encourage her in certain ways. And wives, you do the same for your husband.
Wives, when's the last time you told your husband that he looks great and that you're his girlfriend and you're his cheerleader? When's the last time you said that to him?
And I know some of you might be saying, well, do you want me to lie?
We've had that reaction before.
Yeah.
Julieann had a time once where she's like, you ladies need to tell your husband that you're his cheerleader and you love him. And one lady says, I can't lie, Julieann.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So it might be that maybe your spouse doesn't look like they used to, right? But
I certainly don't. I have seen YouTube videos of myself just as recently as 10 years ago.
No, but
Wow,
you
10 years is a
look
long time.
amazing.
Oh,
He really
kind.
does. Sorry, we work out together and he looks amazing. And
Wow.
so he really has always, I mean, just lately you've been doing a lot of weights, but you've always looked good. Like there was never a time that you didn't. You always look good. And those things, compliment your husband, compliment them on how, I'm so thankful that you opened up the door for me. Like today, I didn't have time to go get any food. And so Butch went like another extra 5 miles down the street to get me one of my favorite foods. That was really sweet that he would do that for me. It wasn't just down the street. It was way down the street. And that means a lot that he would do that for me.
Well, I got food for myself too.
Right, but I'm just saying that you asked me, where would you like to go today? And I didn't have time to leave, so he made it happen. But those are the things that...
Well, and by the way, she always looks great too. There's never a day where she doesn't. She looks great. Look how beautifully she's dressed today. She's always keeping it flashy, keeping it tight with the outfits. I really like it. But
not tight like form fitting, but like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, complimenting the heck out of and not just complimenting them about like, oh, you look this, you look that. How about what you just did was wonderful. What you just did was so nice. What you just did for me was, complimenting in that way, because if you don't compliment them and let them know that, hey, I really like that. I like the fact that you walked around the car and you let me in, or I like the fact that you went down to lunch, whatever. They're not going to repeat it. Maybe. They maybe won't repeat it because they didn't get any kind of encouragement at all from you. So that's why you want to encourage your spouse. You're the man or you're the woman. Encourage them in every way so that they want to give you more.
So Alexandra has an interesting question here, and she sent it in. I'm just going to put it up. The sound of kissing is also deeply traumatic because of one time
I think you need to go up to here first.
Oh, this one. We'll go here. Gosh, I feel terrified of doing that to my future husband. I mean, she means being in separate beds. I just have awful misophonia, okay, which means certain sounds are awful to me, including snoring. I would definitely need to pray about that. Then she says, the sound of kissing is also deeply traumatic because of one time an old creep kissed me and I didn't know him. Even back when I was dating, I hated kissing me because it brought me back to that terrible moment. How should I pray about that? I hope this is okay to bring up. It is okay to bring up. And how would you answer that? Go ahead.
Well, we just had a Sound Mind Summit with Dr. Kevin Chapman.
It was a seminar all about dealing with phobias and fears and all that stuff. It was fabulous. Triggers, things that trigger you.
Everything that you just talked about, Alexandra. So how do you deal with that? Well, you got to face it. And I mean, it's too much for me to talk about now. You and I can talk about this another time, like one-on-one. But you can go to, obviously, you're on this YouTube channel, and go to the Sound Mind Show. And on there, he's got a ton of episodes.
Kevin Chapman
did 20 episodes on everything. And I know that this is in there. So you got to face it and not let it get a hold of you and not have power over you and not rule over you and not scare you. Okay. That's how you do it. Like that, because what happens is that thing that scares you, you're going to tend to shy away from. And you can't. You have to kiss your spouse. You have to be in the room, even if they snore, right? There's things that you need to do.
And by the way, maybe they won't snore.
Maybe they don't.
Or maybe they'll snore temporarily. You have to you can't look at everything as an extreme. Like, gosh, if they snore, I'm going to be able to handle it. See, that's the enemy trying to get into your head right now. So you'll say, rather than deal with that, I will just never get married. See, that is the wrong thing to begin thinking, because the enemy tries to get in your head and create those doubts. Because the first thing the Lord would tell you was, you do not have the spirit of fear. Both things you talked about were spirits of fear. The fear of the sound thing, misphonia, whatever it's called, and then the sound of kissing, because maybe a traumatic thing happened years ago, and I'm sorry that it did. That's so weird and that's odd, of course. Doesn't mean that it sticks with you the rest of your life. You can overcome that, because the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 10:5 to take every thought captive. And that's a thought. When a thought comes in, almost like a bird passing over, you catch it. Like, I'm not going to think that anymore. It is now captive. If you let it run loose in your head all the time, you're going to be just completely in a spiral, a mental spiral. And we don't want that. You want to be focused, and you want to be free of all that stuff. And that's what, by the way, that's why we do these broadcasts every week. We want you free of whatever's plaguing you.
Yeah.
Maybe we haven't hit your topic. Maybe we have. Maybe we've hit it 100 times. We don't do this to get paid. We do this because we want you to be free. This is about you having the best relationship, not just with other people in your life on a regular day-to-day basis, but your marriage, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is. Because when it comes down to having a relationship, it's two of you relating. And if you can't learn how to give, so this other person can come over and vice versa, they need to give and all that. You need to learn how to give in order to get.
And how to receive.
Right.
A lot of times we don't know how to receive.
And if you don't, it's one of those things where the enemy wants us isolated by ourselves, away from everybody, so we don't reproduce, so we don't have any relationship. One of the worst punishments they can do to people is put them in solitary confinement in jail. It drives people insane. That's why it was devised, because we're creatures of relation. That's what the Lord made us for. When that's cut off, it starts to mess with things up here.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, and Kevin said something really great at the Sound Mind Summit. Out of the many things he said that were great,
so many,
and we're going to be posting that eventually. We're going to post some clip. Yeah, we'll post some clips here.
We'll post clips, yeah.
But one thing he said was, when you face a fear, there are going to be a couple moments of being uncomfortable, but after that, it'll go away. Yeah. People today don't want to be uncomfortable even for 1 second.
No.
And that's wrong. Like doing push-ups, right? You're uncomfortable for a second because, it's your muscles are feeling it, but the results are really good.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that result, but they don't want to go through the work it takes. I asked Kevin what was one of the strangest phobias that he ever dealt with.
Addictions, yeah.
And it wasn't addiction, it was
phobia. No, phobia, you're right.
But this guy had a fear of ranch dressing. And you're probably out there going, what the heck, ranch dressing? I love ranch dressing.
What would be wrong with that?
For some reason, this guy had lived with this fear for 25 years. And he was like 29 years old. He had it since he was a kid. And I said, how long did it take you to cure it? He said about 6 hours. 25 years of fear cured in 6 hours simply by exposing him to ranch dressing slowly. He brought it into the room where it was like 40 feet away, and then closer and closer till finally he had him rub it on his arms. And then eventually he ate 2 chicken strips with it at the end, and he was free because he got uncomfortable for 2 seconds. And that will now lead to a lifetime of freedom.
Yeah. And there's also a guy that I guess was afraid of buttons.
Controlling your reactions.
Yeah. So, think about it. We're like going, oh, ranch dressing, that's so weird. But what is it for you? There might be something. But the bottom line is that, we have control over our reactions to things. And it's really important to know that you do have control over your actions, meaning that when he says something to me and my response, I'm in full control over that. Full control, unless I just let my flesh go crazy and spout out something that I really regret. But I have full control over my emotions when in any situation. So what are you going to do about that? You want to blame it on somebody else, but I'm telling you tonight that you can't do that anymore. You've got to take that finger that you're pointing at someone else and point it right back at you and say, okay, I can fix me, but I can't fix somebody else. So how do you fix you? You start going in that Bible, you start learning about the truth, about God's promises, and that becomes your truth instead of everything else, instead of the world becoming your truth. No, Jesus Christ is your truth. And this is how you start the process.
And we've been counseling someone lately who says they want to change. I want to change. But they're making very little strides toward changing. And so sometimes you have to ask yourself, does this person want to change, or are they just saying they want to? Because everybody says everybody wants the result, but very few people are willing to go through what it takes to get the result. I want to lose 300 pounds. Well, there's some steps you got to take to do that. It's absolutely possible. I want to be married, but I'm terrified of whatever. And I get that. Look, a
lot of people don't want to date.
The unknown.
I don't blame you.
Guys, the unknown is a very scary thing.
Yeah.
But if you just know how to control your reactions, you can absolutely have victory over whatever it is that's been in your way.
Yeah. Well, listen, you guys, we are so excited because we've got tomorrow Mike Hoesch is doing a Q&A.
Michael Hoesch.
During his teaching time, which go on Healing Journeys, because I know it's either.
What time does he come on?
It's either 8 a.m. Pacific time or it's 9 a.m. Pacific time. But I think you can go to Healing Journeys and find out what time he's actually on. And because, or I can look
you can ask
here.
him questions live, like you're asking us questions right now.
Yes, that's exciting. And then in January, it's Colleen. And this is at our time slot. So if you listen to Mike, normally you can also go to healingjourneys@gmail.com and you can send in your question. So he will read it over the airwaves and then he will be able to answer it. But it's going to be amazing. So yes, we have Mike this month. We have Colleen next month. And then I think we have Jeremiah after that. So it's going to be exciting. And I hope you guys are really going to love it. And what else we got?
That's it. I can show you our Christmas card. Should I show it to him?
Yeah, show.
Here's our Christmas card right here.
Da, da.
It is my whole family with the Fairly Odd Parents being pulled by our little dog, Happy, and Cosmo and Wanda there. But I drew this of our whole family, and we're sending this out as our Christmas card. So very excited about that.
So tomorrow morning, you have Cindy Mezas first, and then you have, I was going to say Pastor Mike Hoesch. Was that a prophecy? But then you have Mike Hoesch, who is an incredible teacher. Cindy is amazing. And you've got Mike as an incredible teacher. Like, we've got the most incredible speakers. I hope
we do.
You guys get a lot out of it. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
And check out our show, The Garden, gardencartoon.com. We'll see you next week, the week before Christmas. Love you all. Okay.